So I'd like to welcome everybody to our fourth and final session. A lot of material to get through, so we'll try to keep it as short as possible. A busy night for everybody with people playing hockey. Georgia, if you could start with our introductions.
Good evening, everybody, and hope everybody had a great long weekend across the country. Thank you again for joining us tonight on our last session. Again, we have a pretty full roster tonight, so I will start right away. Leading us again, driving the buses are Dave and Stacey. Thank you so much for your hard work. Joining us are our OABO interpreter and OUA official Mike Kim. Christine Vong was supposed to be on tonight. Fortunately, she got a chance to go to Florida with our national team and referee down there. So congratulations to Christine. And leading us for our last session too is Mike Thomson, our manager of officials development for CBOC. So welcome. Thank you again for joining us. Again, we'd ask you to stay mute unless you have a question and type it into the chat room. And enjoy the session tonight, and we'll give further instructions at the end. Thank you very much.
Hey, thanks very much, Georgia. We're going to dive right in. Stacey's going to start with our objectives.
All right. Good evening, everybody, and thank you again for joining us. Our objectives remain unchanged as they have been for the last 4 weeks. We're looking to build consistency, implement the FIBA language, and just a reminder once again that all of this information is coming directly from the FIBA manual for referees, the basic 3-person officiating version 1. So let's get to it.
Okay.
So we're talking about out of bounds and throw-ins where we begin this evening. So the basic coverage for these situations, we have our officials in their general lineup. Our lead is taking care of anything that is going out of bounds along the baseline. Our center official is taking care of the weak side sideline, and our trail official has 2 lines to take care of. They're taking care of the strong side sideline and the center line. There should always be 2 referees, our lead and trail, on the side of the throw-in. So the throw-in is always going to occur on the strong side where both lead and trail should be residing. For our throw-ins, and in particular on these images, we're taking into account the front court end line throw-in. So if the ball is being entered into play between the 3-point line and the edge of the backboard, the lead's position is outside of the throw-in spot, and the trail is going to mirror the time in signal. So lead is going to be outside of the ball, and we have both officials hands up to start the time. If we look at our second diagram, if the ball is between the 3-point line and the sideline, lead is going to change their position to be between the basket and the throw-in spot. And again, the trail will mirror the time in signal with the lead.
Okay, thanks very much. We're going to look at a video clip. I'll just turn the deck over to you, Stacey, for the video clip.
Yep. Hold on.
You good? You want me to run?
No, we should be good.
Okay.
There we go.
So lots to look at in this clip, I think.
You'll notice as we watch this, we're going to talk about substitutions and table control later on, but we have our center official taking care of the table while this while we wait for the floor to get cleaned. We'll wait for the ball to come in, and then we have our inbounds.
Okay, so Stace, when we inbounds, is there any kind of protocol that we want to go through or through our minds? Like I think MP Mallow had a presentation on it. Is there any kind of protocol that we want to go through?
Absolutely. So anytime that we're in a dead ball situation, the protocol that we want to go with, once the whistle blows, we're looking at the play, then our partners, then the clock, and finally the table. And we're going to reverse that, that sequence as we put the ball back into play. So you're going to check in with the table, then double check the clock, check in with your partners, and then resume play. So
Right.
if, oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just going to come back to just a couple of things in our clip here. So as we go through it, can see, as we talked about last week, about securing rebounds and making sure that the play, we know the play, which direction the play is going in right away. You can see that our lead official here is taking off down the floor before we have a play secure. So that is an excellent example of some of the things we discussed last week. Once we get into position here, we've got our official signaling the direction of play. And like I mentioned before, our center official taking care of all of the substitutions and things going on at the table. And then like we just discussed at the, sorry, let me just drag it ahead a little bit here. At the last second there, we've got both officials mirroring, or excuse me, the lead official using their arm to chop the time in, and the trail official mirroring the play as well.
So eye contact with your partner is key in this, wouldn't you say, Stacey?
Absolutely. We need to make sure that all parties are engaged with the play and ready to resume at all times.
Right. Okay. So I'll just take over now.
Sure thing.
Maybe.
David, may I make one note?
Sure.
At the beginning of the clip, Stacey was kind enough to point out to everybody that our trail official had left early and had bailed out on the play and started to the other end of the floor. Just as a note of observation, even on this single play, we can tell that this game is a very physical game, and it's very interesting. This occurs way more often in physical games. It doesn't occur in a game where there is very little contact because the referees are actually comfortable and are settled in, so they maintain their composure and their control. But when the game gets physical and the referees are feeling uncertain, this is where mentally we start to do things that we don't want to be doing.
Right. And we just have to train our minds and be disciplined. And this is why we look at tape, so that we can pick out things like this and make sure that we can correct them for the next time.
And I think, sorry to interrupt, I think Arash put a question, said, should we be bouncing the ball in all inbound situations to the thrower in? So Arash, I'm not sure if you've used a question mark. I'm not sure if you're intending it as a statement. Certainly the mechanic allows you to bounce the ball in all situations. You do not have to. On the end line, you can hand it if you wish.
Thanks very much for that clarification, Mike. Okay, so we're just going to go to Mike Kim. You're going to talk a little bit about our 3-point. Everybody see that shot coverage?
Perfect. Thanks, Dave. So with regards to the shot coverage, and for both 3-point and 2-point attempts, when we look at the coverage areas here and we look at the lead, so the lead is going to be responsible for the area in blue, basically the triangle, the rectangle there. So all within that area. When we look at the 3-point coverage, the trail also does have some 2-point coverage as well too. So the trail will take the portion of the strong side all the way down right to the end line, whereas the center gets the entire opposite side, the weak side as well. When we have a 3-point attempt, the outside official who is going to be signaling with 3-point attempt, but the make is only going to be made by by both. The make will be signaled by both officials.
Okay. So shot coverage or dual coverage areas?
Yeah, so when we have dual coverage areas, thanks, Dave. So we have to be responsible and we have to look at the respective areas of coverage, because there are going to be areas that are going to be overlapped. The trail and center have the split line coverage, and then the lead and trail are going to have that area right in that rectangle, right in the just within the paint as well as outside there. So what we always say is, who has, with regards to responsibilities, the open look, as well as where did the play start, you know, and then try to focus on the entire play and then on the side of defensive players. The other big thing too to remember is the last few frames of the movie clip. You know, you don't want to be calling just the last second, right? You want to be able to see and process the entire play, start, middle, and finish.
So when we look at shot coverage and we look at, you know, 2-point, 3-point shots, if you go to your IOTs, there's a really nice diagram with the 1, 2, 3 principle on how to referee shots. If you get a chance to look at that, I think that's really important for officials to have a look at that. That's a great diagram that they show on how to cover a jump shooter. Okay. Okay. So Mike and Mike, we're just going to have a quick look at this clip here. Stacey, if you want to take the deck, and it's just going to show some basic shot coverage from trail official and center official.
So these are fairly straightforward clips here. So let's take a look and see where the ball originates from. So we're going on a fast break. The ball starts coming on the strong side. Trail is watching the play and sticking with it. And then now we're in transition going backwards. Okay. Now it's on the C side, on the weak side, along with the drive. The lead is in close down. And then now we have a foul call. So sticking with the primary areas of coverage, and then the proper official makes the call.
So
see that again?
Yeah. So just Mike Thomson, maybe is the center official, when we come down, is the center official a little too high, sets up a little too high initially as we come back down the court? We would like to see him maybe set up at the free throw line. Yeah.
Sorry,
Go ahead,
Dave, at the end of the floor they're at now, or at the other end?
Yeah, at the other end. It's like I think setup is good here, but if we go down to the other end of the clip, and we watch
coming back. Yeah, he does start off a little bit high, but then as the ball goes down, he does start to move down. But I think, yeah, you're probably right. He is probably a little high, eh, Mike?
So the interesting thing is, I think what he's actually doing is he's working on the IoT stationary and distance. And so the question we have to ask ourselves, if he'd come down to the free throw line extended immediately, would he have shrunk, closed the angle that he actually had on the play? And so while the question is a legitimate question, I'm not too worried about it, because he does come down, and you see here, well, I would have liked him to turn his body and get square to this particular play. He has made the adjustment to get himself to the free throw line extended when the matchup of I'm sorry, I'm pointing at the screen, but the two players just off the edge of the lane, when that's no longer the primary matchup for him. If you watch this clip and you actually watch the play at the other end and you come down here, this particular official is Toga Sashin, who does an excellent job on being on ball when it's in his primary and off ball when it's not in his primary. So on the single clip, I certainly give him credit for the adjustment.
Yeah, I know that was a question that I had, and makes sense, right? Just a lot going on, even on just a simple clip such as that.
Great clip, Dave, because even at the other end, we have a shot that is coming from the trail side, but it starts to move into the middle of the floor, and the officials do a great job of having one referee a one referee play.
Yeah,
and that goes back, Mike, to the exchange of eye contact and seeing when to transition and give back the play to the other official and back, eh?
Yeah, and these guys do a really good job of it in this clip.
thanks very much. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen again. Back here. And we're into timeouts. Okay, so a couple of things. Timeout, you know, we've had some discussion about this in Ontario for the past year or so. So after the table officials had notified the referees about a timeout request, normally the trail or center closest to the table will signal the timeout. Referees have 3 standard positions during the timeouts, always on the opposite side. They can select any one of the positions they feel most comfortable. Leave the ball on the floor, okay, where the game will be resumed. All right. With 20 seconds remaining, 2 referees will move close to the team bench areas in order to be ready to activate the teams to return back to court when the 50-second warning signal sounds. So a couple of things here you want to keep in mind. You don't want to get too close to at that 20 seconds to have assistant coaches come out and talk to you. That's an issue we've had at the OUA level. And the crew chief doesn't have to be in the middle. I know that's one thing that we've talked about. If we just look at our diagrams, okay, these are the 3 standard positions, and they're always on the opposite side. Okay, and lots going on here. All right, when 20 seconds remaining, when the 2 timeouts, the referees move close to the bench areas, and then at the horn, at the 50-second warning horn, they notify the benches and activate the teams to come out on the court. Okay, our last 2 minute timeouts protocol, where a team has an opportunity to advance the ball to the front court. Okay, so the referees stand in one of the 3 standard positions. Okay, during the timeout, the ball is to remain in the hands of the crew chief. This signals that a decision for the throw-in location has not yet been made. Okay, when a timeout has 20 seconds remaining, a crew chief and one of the umpires will move close to the team bench areas. The crew chief will go to the team that is entitled to the possession of the ball. When the 50-second signal sounds, the officials will activate the teams to return to the court. Okay, the crew chief will ask the head coach to decide where the throw-in will remain in the backcourt or whether it will advance to the front court. The crew chief will verbally confirm with the head coach, and the crew chief will show a signal to the location of the throw-in. Verbal support will accompany the signal. Okay. One last point, I think. The crew chief will normally administer the throw-in, with the other 2 officials adjusting their positions accordingly. So, Mike, a couple of questions just on this protocol. We've had a little bit of confusion. The 3rd official, does he remain in that standard position while the other 2 are activating the teams?
Generally, yes.
Okay. Okay, so that's one thing. Like, we've had 2 officials go to one bench, and I think there was a little confusion where the crew chief and one of the umpires. It's just the crew chief that goes, right?
Well, crew chief goes to the bench of the team that's entitled to the ball. One of the umpires goes to the other bench.
Right, and the 3rd official in one of the standard positions. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
I mean, there might be a bit of movement, on an anticipation where the ball's going to come into play, but it's minor movement, right?
Okay, you're right. Okay, excellent. And okay, I think that was the only question that I had.
So what's very interesting about this protocol is that FIBA has become more directive on this type of protocol. As we know, we don't use the IRS, we don't use the instant replay system in Canada. We will. Probably sooner than you can imagine. Just a minute. That's my apologies. We don't use the instant replay system, so we're not familiar with that protocol. But FIBA started to introduce these protocols, and these protocols work. They work very well to keep the game flow going correctly. They keep they work to ensure everybody's on the same page. And one of the things we want to do is we want to force the head coach to make the decision. So often the assistant coach will tell somebody when the timeout starts, or, the head coach will defer. It's all fine. You can accept that, but confirm with the head coach and force the head coach to say front court or back court.
Yeah, that's a really important point, Mike, because we've had some confusion where an assistant coach will come out and say we want it in the front court, and then by not confirming with the head coach then says no, we want it in the back court. So it is really important that the crew chief talks to the head coach and confirms. Absolutely.
Or important that the head coach talks to the crew chief.
Right.
The crew chief doesn't need to talk to the head coach. It's the head coach who just indicates front court or back court.
Okay. All right, Stacey, going to take us through substitutions.
All right. So with substitutions, our trail or center, who is closest to the table, will be administering the substitutions. All substitutions should be completed as quickly as possible. And as soon as the substitutions are completed, the administering referee should make sure that there is a correct number of players on the playing court and shall then communicate by establishing eye contact with the active referee with the ball. So much like we talked about the protocol going through the dead ball protocol going through the throw-ins, same thing is happening throughout when you're administering the substitutions.
All right, so after a foul.
Responsibilities with substitutions after a foul, the calling referee gets to report first. They are going to finish reporting, and then our new tableside referee, either trail or center, will administer the substitutions. And
I think it's really important. I don't have a clip. I've seen several really good clips that officials control the table. You control the table and not allow subs to come on when they want. While an official is making a foul report, if you control the table, if officials control the table, it's part of the game control that FIBA wants to see. You really don't want the hockey substitutions where they're running up and down the court or where they're running onto the court without reporting to the table. So it's something, if you watch really good officials control the table, it really helps the game move along a little bit smoother. Okay. So Mike, lots to cover here. Oh, sorry, Stacey, you're still with the 8-second backcourt responsibilities.
Absolutely. So you want to keep clicking through there. So trail has the primary responsibility to take care of the 8-second count and to call center line violations. Center has secondary responsibility on all press situations. So they should be ready to assist trail with 8 seconds. So they need to be physically and mentally engaged with the play. As well, they're going to be able to help with backcourt violations. So when the ball is played on the weak side before returning to the backcourt, center can help out on that. They may have a better look or a better open angle with which to see the play on that side.
Okay. So Mike Thomson, just a question: do we need a visible 8-second count from the trail official?
No, we do not.
Right.
Okay. So we're working off the shot clock.
Right.
And we want to make sure that we know how the shot clock operates.
Absolutely.
So when the shot clock is turned on, does it instantaneously go from 24 to 23? And if that's what happens when the shot clock is turned on, that means it's actually at 23.9, and the countdown goes down 23.8, 23.7, down to 23.2, 23.1, and when it reaches 23, it then immediately goes to 22. Or is it the type of shot clock that when it's turned on at 24, it takes 1 second before it goes to 23? So we need to make sure how the shot clocks operate in our gyms.
Right. So that's the importance of getting to a game early and having a discussion or watching a game prior in supporting your officials. But also, in my experience, I like to get to the games very early and just have a look at how the shot clocks work. How good the shot clock operators are, how the clock, where the benches are and things like that, especially if you're in an unfamiliar gym and you have an opportunity to go observe some fellow officials.
So Dave, just to finish that, if there was somebody that didn't understand what I was saying, if the shot clock goes from 24 directly to 23, it means you need to be at 15 before you have a violation. Because when it goes to 15, you're at 15.9. That's the way all modern shot clocks work that have tenths of a second associated with them. The old shot clocks were the opposite. They started at 24 and they took 1 second to run off, which meant when you got to 16, you had the 8 seconds.
Right. And it is very important, right? It is very important that you understand how the shot clock works. So with those clocks at 16, you're actually at 16.1 to 16.9 with the newer shot clocks when you hit 16.
Exactly, which is why you need to be at 15 to be in a violation.
Okay, great. That's great clarification. Good to know. Okay, Mike, you can talk about shot clock.
So that segues really nice into the shot clock coverage. So normally it's the outside referees, either the trail or the center, who has the primary responsibility for the shot clock violations, depending on where the ball and or shooter is. Big thing with regards to shot clock coverage, as you're coming up the court, it's very important. The trail and center are going to have to be the ones that are going to have the visualization with regards to looking at the shot clocks as they're coming up. The lead should be aware of the time on the shot clock and be ready to assist the trail and center in their decisions. It's vital for the referees to know when the shot clock period is nearing its end to be able to make correct decisions. We should have that internal clock in our own head to know that it's ticking down, to be ready to be aware as the ball is being skipped across the court, etc., to know when the shot's going up, to be able to have a whistle, to make a decision if there is a shot that has missed the rim, to blow it down. At all times, the active referee administering the throw-in should check the shot clock to be sure that it is set correctly. This must be done before the referee passes the ball to a thrower in. This goes back to what Stacey was mentioning before, the TCPP, table, clock, players, partners in play, and vice versa.
That should be ingrained. Okay, so we have a clip coming up, and Stacey, if you want to take the deck, I want you to pay particular attention to the shot clock in this case. It's one of those shot clocks that I think flips over very quickly, and then we're going to have a look at just some things that we need to pay attention to when we have these types of plays.
So when we take a look here, so there's a foul called. It's being reported. And now the new lead takes the ball. And now see the shot clock. Can we go back, Stacey, on this clip? Just to see what the shot clock was at prior to the foul.
Sorry.
Just a little bit more, please. Just so the play comes down. So boom, 16 to 15 seconds on the shot clock. We know that with regards to if the offensive team is going to retain possession, the shot clock's going to stay at either the 16 or 15 in this situation and not go down and be reset to 14 seconds. Okay, so all the officials should have awareness as to what the shot clock should be at the moment of the foul, as well as upon resumption of play.
Mike, it was interesting that you said we know. And I'm not sure that that's actually a well understood rule. Maybe you can explain that a little bit further.
Can you elaborate again, Mike?
I was going to say, just explain the rule a little bit further, because I'm not sure it's a well understood rule.
Sure. So with regards to shot clock resets, for those who are newer to the game, so when the shot clock is, if the offensive team retains possession of the ball at 14 seconds or above, it's going to remain at that time. So if a foul occurred at 23 seconds, same team is going to keep possession. It'll stay like that. But if it's below 13 seconds or lower, it'll be reset up to 14 seconds.
So if we just play, and this is maybe one where during the game, if you see the shot clock crew resetting rather quickly, you may want to have you may want to speak to them about, we just want to make sure we have clear possession before we reset the shot clock. One of the things that I found really important is find out the name of your shot clock operator, because it is very important during a game, if you call them by their name, you have their attention. So if we just want to skip to the next clip. It's a very good shot clock pickup by the outside official. So I think that is video clip number 4, Stacey. Okay, and this is what Mike talked about, that internal clock. If we look at that shot clock.
Ball gets bobbled around here, passed around. Here comes a shot attempt. Clearly this ball misses the rim. But if you saw the shot clock and then a shot goes up, but immediately the center official has waved off his basket because in his opinion, there was a shot clock violation. So we'll go back here, just take a look again to have awareness of the shot clock as the shot goes up. and when it was reset. So 4.9-ish, and then now the shot clock's been blanked and a shot goes up. It's a little bit choppy right now. I did mentally calculate this. I didn't use a stopwatch, but I did mentally calculate the time off, and it does appear that this was a shot clock violation, correctly called by the outside official.
So, and although we didn't show it, if we just skip this clip just a little bit longer, you know, it's not a decision that this official made on their own. The crew did get together and they discussed it, and it was determined that it was an inadvertent reset. So that's one thing, you know, that this crew does very well, was after a play like this, they got together and discussed it. So when this comes out, this clip's a little bit longer and it'll show actually the crew getting together and making their decision.
So Patty kind of skipped ahead to what I was going to discuss also as well, but I don't want to get too much into it with regards to shot clock corrections and whatnot. If there's a shot like this and there's an immediate rebound and a quick shot, you know, the question is should we just pause? And I think that, you know, common sense has to allow that play to go. If there's an obvious violation that has occurred, then of course we need to blow it dead at that point. Patty then does talk about here with regards to in the backcourt, you know, let's see his exact question. Ball in backcourt and shot clock not started for 3 seconds. Is it blown down right away or let go to front court? Shot clock reset. We have a lot of debate about this internally in Ontario, Mike. If we can actually ask for your opinion on this, that would be great.
Sorry, the rule is straightforward. You stop the game, you take the 3 seconds off the shot clock, and you inbound the ball with 21 seconds on the shot clock, 5 seconds on the second count in the backcourt. So you blow it down right away.
Thanks, Mike. And I appreciate you clarifying that, because a lot of crews in Ontario I'm finding are waiting till the ball enters the front court, stopping and correcting to whatever shot clock number they think is at that point, and then allowing a front court throw in only. So from now on, what we will do is, if we have awareness in the backcourt that the shot clock was not properly reset, we will stop play and resume once everything is corrected.
Mike, before you move on, you still have we have one more question in regards to that, like from the backcourt to the front court. If they're in a pressing situation and the ball is passed before 16, but it hits 15 in the air before it's touched in the front court, is that a shot clock violation?
By rule, yes, because the ball has not entered the front court. But your issue here is we're not here to split hairs.
Yeah.
So I mean, is the ball 6 inches from the hands of the player that's about to catch it, or is the ball 30 feet from the hands of the player that's about to catch it? Remember, in the FIBA game, we still use terminology consequence, and so we're not trying to react on the split second the clock goes from 16 to 15. We check where the ball is and determine if it's a violation. But by rule, if the ball is in the air on a pass, the 8-second count continues.
Thank you.
Great clarification. Thanks very much, Mike.
The other item that we just talked about that Patty asked about in the backcourt, that's actually a gap in the rule. And I can tell you that much of the weekend was spent on a rewrite of Article 29, the shot clock rule, trying to simplify it. And we actually have proposed language for 2022 that would address that very directly. So right now, 29.27 talks about if the shot clock signal sounds in air, but it does not do a good job of addressing what you do when you don't start the shot clock. That actually appears in Article 50, and Article 50 and 29 will be combined into a single article to address that.
Oh, wow. Somebody's on the ball. Good questions, Patty. All right. Thanks, Mike. Really appreciate your clarification here. So we're just moving ahead, and we're going to look at basket interference and goaltending. So responsibilities, like normally the trail or center is responsible to determine if basket interference or goaltending violation occurs. The referee opposite the shot has primary responsibility for the flight of the ball and goaltending and basket interference violations. Okay, if a basket is awarded due to basket interference or goaltending, the calling referee should stop the clock, count the goal by showing the correct official signal. Okay, on all plays in a foul call, trail and center should hold their positions. Okay, maintain focus on the play until the end and be ready to make possible basket interference or goaltending calls. So we have a clip here, and we just want to talk. I have found, and it doesn't happen all the time, that when we have our fast break situation, okay, so normally in a fast break situation, the center is responsible for basket interference and goaltending violations, okay. Secondary responsibility goes to the lead. And if the lead thinks that they can pull up and have a good look at this, it is actually, if it's on a fast break, they can have an opinion on it, okay? If the center is not ready to cover the fast break, physically not engaged in the play, the lead should stop ahead of the end line to be able to see the ring in the front of the backboard. Okay, so this is where, as the fast break starts, having a quick look just at your partner across the floor if you're either going to new lead and saying, okay, they're going to be helping me out, or I might have to pull up and have an opinion on this play. So if we just have, we just got a clip, Stacey, if you could pull that up. Okay, we're just going to pause it just right at the very start. So this is a fast break that we were covering in the Ryerson Duke game, and my partner Nick Borage was lead, and I was center on the play. While I was running down, the first thing that I looked at was I knew Nick would have the play. My focus was on, I thought that Zion chasing him down, that something was going to happen, and you'll see what happens. So if you want to play this, and I know it's a little bit choppy, but his head was almost at the rim and the ball on the way down, and it happens so quickly. So if you could replay that again, Stacey. It happens so quickly, and you have to really have that active mindset as you're coming down on a fast break, and if you think something's going to happen. And there are so many athletes in this country, male, female, anything like that, that you need to be ready and not be surprised by these calls. Okay. All right. Thanks very much, Stacey. I'll take it over from here. Okay, so Stacey, fouls and switching.
All right, so reporting fouls and switching. So there are a number of scenarios and different switches that are covered throughout both manuals. We're going to go through a couple of the basic ones here tonight. So with free throws and the ball remains in the front court, the referee who reports the foul moves to the opposite side in the trail position, and the other two officials will fill the empty spots. With a throw-in and the ball remaining in the front court, the referee who reports the foul will move to the opposite side, either in the trail or center position. And again, the other two referees will fill the empty spots. The ideal here is to minimize the distance we need to move. You're going to walk sharply and think, where is your next position after reporting? If we have two referees calling the same foul, the referee who is on the opposite side will report. In all situations, referees should try to minimize switches. Sometimes there's no need to switch, and sometimes all referees need to move in order for the above results to be implemented. Just a couple of things to keep in mind when you're reporting. You want to use a clear voice, use sharp signals, and use a rhythm as you do so. All right, so we're going to talk about some basic switches. Again, all of these are available in your manual. You can go through them at your leisure, but basic switches where the play is remaining in the front court and continued by a throw-in. So on your first diagram, we're talking about a defensive foul in the front court, and the call is made by the lead official. They are going to make the call, report, and then step back and become the new trail. In our second diagram here, we have our trail official making the call, stepping forward to report to the table, and then staying in the trail position.
So just for clarification, Mike, when there is no actual reporting box for FIBA officials, right? We are just to clear the players and make the call.
Correct. We walk quickly, efficiently to an open spot that clears all the players, gives you a view of the scores table, and report from there. So very often that may be 1 or 2 steps. In the diagram on the left-hand side, you can see that the lead official has come out above the free throw line, extended simply to get a view of the table. But it's remaining by the floor.
Right. And just for clarification, the gray area or the gray officials are the ones making the call with the whistle, and that's their initial position. And the colored is when where they're returning to. Okay, Stacey.
In that particular one, the trail official has taken 1 step, maybe 2 steps, just to activate the mind of the scorer to focus on that referee.
Great. Okay, Stacey. Basic switches. Play remains in the front court, continued by a throw.
All right, so we have a defensive foul in the front court, opposite called by the center. So in this case, our center again is going to take 1 or 2 steps forward and then make the report and then step back and resume the trail position. Our lead official is going to take the ball to the strong side. So like we discussed at the beginning of the presentation, throw-ins are always going to be on the strong side with 2 officials on the side of the ball. So we have our lead and trail. And our old trail is going to drop down and become the new center on this play. On our second diagram, we're looking at a free throw situation. So we have a table side call by the lead official. They're going to, again, clear the players, probably 1 step above the 3-point line, report. They are going to become the new trail official. Our center official is going to fill that spot and come down and become the administering official in the lead position. And our old trail is going to drop down and take up the new position as center.
Okay.
All right.
And our last one.
Yep. So we have our defensive foul in front court, table side by trail. Our trail official is going to make the call, turn around and report, and then cross the floor. Our center official is going to come across and fill the spot vacated by the trail, and lead is going to just change positions along the end line, but remain in the same position. On this particular one, we have a front court table side call by center. Again, center will make the call, turn and report, become new trail, and trail will come across.
And a couple of backcourt.
The backcourt throw-ins are always a little bit of an adventure. So we have a call in the backcourt, opposite side by lead, and the ball is going to move in a new direction. So the lead official is going to make the call, clear the players just so they have again, like we talked about, a view of the table and report. And in this case, they are going to become the new trail and go back and administer the ball. Center will stay as center and move up the court. And our trail official will become new lead and move up the court to the end line position. On our final one, we have a call in the backcourt opposite by the trail official, and the ball is going to move in a new direction.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Again, our trail official is going to just take a few steps and report, and then they will take up the new lead position. Our old lead will take the ball and become the administering official as trail, and center will stay where they are and move up the court and stay in their same position.
So in actual fact, we've only shown you 8 switches. There, if you go to the advanced manual, there's actually 24 switches that they diagram. And what I've done, or I'm almost finished, is I have made video clips of each of the switches to see them live. So we'll post these when we post the, I just have to finish them up. It's taken quite a while, but if those newer officials want to look at how officials switch, all 24 switches are going to be video clipped, okay? Because I have nothing else to do. All right, free throw coverage. So when we look at free throw coverage, this is something that we really, you know, when the ball, we don't want to relax on these. There's a lot of things that can happen during free throws. So what we want to do is we want to make sure the lead is the active referee in all free throw situations will administer all free throws. During the last free throw, the lead is responsible for players in the rebound spaces on table side of the restricted area. And for the last free throw, the lead should be positioned in the normal lead setup position. Okay. The center official indicates the number of free throws using official signals. Okay. All free throws is responsible for checking that there is no violations from the shooter. During the last free throw, it is a responsibility for the players in the rebound spaces opposite the restricted area. Position is near the sideline in the normal setup position. And the trail is responsible for the rest of the players behind the free throw line extended, and behind the 3-point line during all free throws. So if we look at the diagram, we're going to look at violations first. So when a violation occurs during a free throw, the ball is in the air. The referee should immediately blow his whistle. Now, the important thing is the ball is in the air, okay? And this is to minimize unnecessary escalation or contact between the players. Okay, you really don't want to blow the violation before, because if the ball enters the basket, if it's the violation of the free throw shooter, the basket's not valid, but a violation by other players, the basket is valid, and the whistle is ignored, and the play will continue with a throw-in after a successful free throw. So, so lots of things to think about on a free throw. We have lots of responsibility. And if we look at our diagram, okay, this is our center's responsibility is free throw violations and opposite. And our lead responsibility is table side. Our trail responsibility is outside the 3-point line. And Mike, if you could maybe clarify, and we see this a lot, and the reason is there's an NBA influence. These outside players outside the 3-point line, right? It is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but they must wait until the ball hits the rim before they enter the in the 3-point area.
100%. They can not touch the floor inside the 3-point area until the ball has struck the ring.
Right, and we have a lot of NBA influence where we see them where that's not called, or it's a different rule set. So we must remember this is FIBA, and we have to be consistent and make sure that we call that, because there is an advantage if somebody sneaks in and the ball, we get a long rebound, and they secure the rebound. So it's important that this trail official, even though doesn't seem like there's a lot going on, you have responsibility that you need to take care of. All right, and now we're just going to go moving right along. Oh, this is just our rebounding coverage. Mike Kim.
So when we talk about rebounding coverage, the big thing to remember is that each referee should have 1 to 2 active matchups. If there's no active matchup in your primary, you need to go seek one. So with regards to that, the lead covers the matchups closest to the basket. The lead will end up looking for any holding, clamping fouls that are underneath the basket there that prevents players from going up and getting the rebound. The trail and center, they focus on the perimeter rebounds, pushing, crashing, so flyers coming in, quote unquote, over the back fouls from their respective sides. The center has the primary coverage on goaltending or basket interference, as we've talked about previously in this presentation, because the trail in this situation here with the diagram here, they have the shot coverage. Again, if there's no active matchups on your side, you need to move to the next matchup. We don't want to be refereeing, see the empty space, know where the matchups are coming, and then find where the competitive matchups are going to be. Let's have an active mindset.
And I think one thing, and I put this in my pre-games, like really good shooting teams shoot between 30 and 40%, sometimes over 40%. So that means 60 to 70% of the shots are coming off the rim. So we need to be ready to referee rebounds because the majority of the shots are not going to go in, and we need to make sure that we have our rebound coverage down pat. Because that is one thing that I stress in my pre-games is that 60 to 70% of the shots are not going to make it, and you're going to have rebounds.
Dave, can I add something to
awareness
that?
as to where the shots are coming from. Like if it's a long shot, it's going to be a long rebound. If it was a little layup, the rebound's going to be probably going to be a short layup as well too, right? And then it keeps condensing and crashing in.
Can I add something to that, Dave? Depending on where the shot goes up, your opposite is your hot spot. So 80% of the rebounds will go there. So if you can put a pointer on, let's say where B4 is, where the ball goes, right? The opposite side is your hot spot. So those officials that are in that hot spot need to look on that. The short spot is rim to shooter, right? That's your next probably 10 to 15% of the shot. And then the gobble spot, which is like the needle of the foul line down, that is about 8 to 5% of the rebounds go. So your hot spot is where your action is on most of the rebounds.
Okay, Mike, just rebounding shot from the weak side.
Yeah. So now with the ball coming from the weak side, here we see the ball is, we see the lead set up here. Ball's being shot from A3, it looks like, with the defender B4. Lead, again, still is going to be covering the matchups close to the basket. We see lead here looking at the active matchups of A4, B2, A5, B5. Trail and center, again, focusing on the perimeter rebounds. We talked about the pushing, crashing over the back from their respective sides. In this situation, since the ball was shot from the center side, the trail is going to have primary coverage on goaltending or basket interference. Once the trail has had a look with regards to seeing the goaltending basket interference is no longer a factor, then he or she needs to have that active mindset and pick up their own active matchups.
So a couple of things, Mike Thomson, if you could maybe clarify for us, is that this lead official, when that shot does come from the weak side, would you like to see this lead official a little more distance move backwards as that shot is going, or do you want them to stay stationary in that closed down position?
Well, I think it's quite probable that they could have taken a cross step and stepped further away from the play. I mean, I think it's important to remember that these are diagrams and they're not necessarily to scale when you look at the size of the person.
Right. Right.
It's sort of like where we began today, where we showed the were they blue, orange, and green primary coverage areas of the three officials on the floor, and then we showed the triangle or then the curved line. Yeah, it's always important to remember that the game is not played static. The game is a dynamic game with movement all the time, and that's why we can have a diagram that shows primary coverage areas, but we're always adjusting those areas within the scope of those sweeping curves, depending on where the ball is, where it comes from, where the active matchups are. And I think this is very similar in this particular situation here.
Right, and that's a lot of what's covered in the advanced three-person mechanics is that those types of philosophies and thinking and mindsets that we have to have. So we've got a couple of clips for you, just on some rebound coverage. So Stacey, if you could cue them up.
So let's look at these clips here because we'll be looking at each of the 3 different positions with regards to rebounding coverage. We're going to start with lead. So let's take a look and see where the ball is, but take a look at the lead and lead's head position as he's officiating this game. So first of all, he comes to close down and comes back out. We see with regards to the coverage areas, the trail had the primary responsibility. And now lead has the call with regards to rebounding. Can we play that one more time, please? So let's specifically look at the lead's head with regards to giving up the play as there's a competitive active matchup right here underneath the basket with the 2 post players. So okay. The discipline to not watch the ball in the corner. Shot comes up and then immediately waves off the shot attempt with an offensive rebound foul.
Mike, just before you go on, we don't have to go back and look at it, but we have 182 people on the call. I'm not looking for votes, but I want all 182 people on the call to answer the question in their mind. Did they believe the official was correct? The question is not whether they were correct. The question is, did they believe the official was correct? And just hold that thought for until we go through these clips. Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. So now this is a play with regards to shot coming up. And now a center has a foul call. Okay. This is being active. The ball, can we go back one more on Stacey, please?
Yeah.
So as we see that play arising, shot comes up from the trails primary.
Sorry.
No, let's get center is watching here. And then white 14 with a push in the back to be able to secure the rebound. Immediately, center has the call.
All right.
Okay. And then finally, this is a call coming from trail.
Center.
This is a center one, sorry. With help from the lead afterwards. So this is the action up at the top corner there. So we'll go back in a moment. This may be hard to see on the film here, but this ends up being a shot to the face. So this was upgraded by the crew to an unsporting foul. Right there.
So if you just want to go back, Stacey and Mike, you talked a little bit about active matchups. If you don't have an active matchup, you want to look for the next one. So if we just go back to just as the shot is going up. Okay, so there the shot goes up, and Mike, you talked about an active matchup. I was on this play, and I was lead at the time, and I remember as I was backing out to get a look that I really didn't have a lot to referee. There was no active matchup for rebounding in my area. So I did assist the official on center side with this call. So if you want to just play it from here. And Mike Thomson, maybe you can comment about, do we believe the call?
Can we take this clip back to the beginning of the clip? And I just want to watch the transition of the trail official coming up the floor, and then stop it when they get sort of into the front court. Oh, sorry, the center official. Okay, and then let it go till they make the call. So again, 182 people, 2 people left. They didn't like my question. We're down to 180. So if you compare the first call from the first clip to this call, in your own mind, determine which is more believable, which official has more presence, and therefore more credibility and more trust. Not just you as an official, but the players and the coaches that are involved in this game. And the difference in the acceptance of that call from the first clip that was accepted by the players, and this call that gets a lot of people turning, looking at the official and going, well, what happened? And given the contact that was on this play, this would have been very easy for this official to show some strength and some presence in making this call. And I think there's a significant difference between the two.
Those are the things that we look at on tape that we want to try to improve, right?
Can I just add one thing here? Thanks, Mike. With regards to rebounding coverage, just to see the ever evolving, we know that when rebounds change, and just going back, just watch how David already pointed out with regards to his active matchup when the shot went up. Let's take a look and see how the active matchups change. There's a lot of open space here, but still, I think the very important part with regards to rebounding coverage is to keep that active mindset, to be able to see how because you're going to have different competitive matchups. There could have been a pick and roll, there could have been a switch, etc. And so the primary defenders and secondary defenders may have switched on that as well too. So you need to be able to pick that up as well.
Absolutely. Okay.
Probably don't need to actually see the play. Thanks, Stacey.
Thanks, Stace. I'm just going to take the screen now and I'll go from here. So I don't know if you've had a chance to look at When the Ball is Dead, Be Alive video. MP Mallow, Nadine put on, but if you do get a chance to look at that, it's one of the best seminars I've been on in a long time. So it's a really good learning opportunity for you. Okay, so last thing that we're going to look at is the last shot. Okay, so you know, we really have to be aware of time and things like that. So if we have a shot opposite the table, trail or center on the table side has the primary responsibility for the clock. Okay, the trail or center who is covering the shooting center on the opposite side is secondary responsible for the clock in the assist mode. Okay, so there's a lot going on here that the trail has to look at. The center, it's a last second shot. The center has primary, if the clock's here, to look at. I've got a clip just coming up. So it's not always the opposite official calling the last second shot. Okay. Table side, if we have a shot coming from the table side, the trail or center on the opposite side is in primary mode. Now remember, the center has to referee this play to make sure that there's not a foul. So refereeing the play and looking at the clock is very difficult. So you need help from your crew. Okay, the trail or center who is covering the shot situation on the table side is secondary and responsible for the clock in there in assist mode. Okay, so we have a clip here of the last second shot. And Stacey, I'm just going to ask you to stop it before it goes to replay. And then we're just going to ask everybody their opinion. Did it go? So you can see it's 67-67. Okay. And there is 5 seconds left. And we know that this is going to come down to a last second shot. Okay, I was set up over here as center, my partner trail, and there's lead. Okay, so if we just play it and just remember, stop it just after the basket goes. I know it's choppy. Okay, stop it right there. Did the basket go? I'm just going to ask people to put that in the chat. Did the basket go? We'll just replay it again. Yes, no. Yes. No. Yes. Okay, so, all right. So if we go back, if we just pull that back just a little, Stacey, and we're going to talk about primary and secondary. The shot comes here, and when the shot comes, you'll look at, I have the best look in the house. Now you got to remember, this place was packed. We've got no LED lights around the basket. We couldn't hear whether the horn went or not. it is, it was one of the more difficult calls, but I had a pretty good idea. And if you want to look at this clock here, and Stacey, if you could try to stop it right just before he releases the ball, and then we'll show you the replay. Right. So the ball, if we just bring it back just a little more. Okay. Ball is, I don't know, it's kind of blurry, but the ball is in his hands here. It is, Stacey, if you could point to it. And if you look at the clock above here, it's at 0.00. Okay. But it's interesting, right? If we look at the game clock on the bottom, it says 0.1, right? But the official game clock here, 0.00. It was, yeah, it was really kind of interesting when I looked at this. I wondered if I got it right. But if you look at like who has the best look in the house, the trail official is really not going to have opinion. He can't see that space in between his hand and the clock. I have shot and I had clock. Lead, when we asked him, he said he didn't have an opinion on it. So if we just want to play the rest, and I'll tell you a little story behind this. So the nice thing is our trail official didn't signal. We got together. And there was the replay. And if you could stop it there, you know, you can go to the table officials and ask for assistance. I asked the scorer what they thought, and they said, yes, it went. I asked the clock operator what they thought, and they said, no, it didn't. So I had a pretty good idea, and we canceled the basket. And fortunately, when we went to it on replay, we got it right. But it's important, you know, that we know who has the primary coverages on that last second shot. Okay. And that
Your
concludes.
trail official looks pretty upset here, Dave.
Who? No, he wasn't. No, he was good. No, he was good. So no, he was good. We had a good discussion. We can't go to instant replay, as Mike Thomson indicated. We can't go to that. That would have opened up a whole new can of worms. So unfortunately, we had to make that decision based on what we thought. And in my opinion, in my gut, I thought it didn't go. I had a pretty good look at it. But it's one of those things that you really have to train your mind. And that's really what I try to do when I look at my clips is I try to train my mind. I try to train my mind on shot clocks. When a shot goes, when I'm even looking at clips, one of the things that I do is I immediately go after a shot and I go to a rebound, and when they've reset the shot clock, have they reset it too early? You know, have they reset it before there's clear possession, things like that. And you know, those are things that I like to do when I go to a game prior. I like to observe just the whole atmosphere, benches, shot clock operators, clocks, things like that. But yeah, if I hope you've all enjoyed these sessions. I know I have. You know, I've learned a lot just putting them together with all the clips. Is there any questions? I see Don Thorne.
Dave, I have Don Thorne. I don't know if you want to type it in, Don, or if you want to pontificate it verbally.
Don, how are you?
Pretty good, Dave. Thanks. I just have one thing, being an experienced shot clock operator. The hardest shot for me is a shot that comes from trail side, closest to the score table, traveling away from me. And the shot misses the basket and is close to the end line, and a whistle blows. For the shot clock operator in that distance, I'd like to see a lot more communication, and we're totally screw this up a lot, where did the defensive player gain possession first and then step out of bounds? Or was it the player out of bounds and then he touches the ball? And it makes a really big difference if the shot clock's under 14.
That's such valuable information. Thanks very much, Don. I really appreciate that.
Farhan. We got shot clock operators, Don and Farhan.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
Don and
go ahead.
Farhan are two shot
I
clock
love it.
operators.
Go
You know,
ahead,
just-
Farhan. Let me see that face, though.
Well, a little bit sore. I had tooth procedures. I'm gonna make this short, but just to add to Don's point, it's a very, very important, and I think Dave said this earlier too, that we need to have a proper pre-game conversation with the shot clock operator. This is done at the highest levels, NBA down. Doesn't matter how long you've been there. Doesn't matter how long the officials have been there. Every time there is a pre-game conversation, talking about scenarios, talking about when do we reset, when do we not reset, talking about specific plays like scooping the ball, tapping the ball, and then also at the end of it all, making sure that as officials, we tell the shot clock operator that if you're in doubt and you're not sure, like Don just said about, certain angles we can't see, if in doubt, don't reset. And that you as an official, as a crew, will communicate verbally or non-verbally in those scenarios, because it happens, and it'll happen at the worst time, like the end of the game, where you can't really, go back and whatever. So I think communication before the game starts, that has to be emphasized when it comes to the shot clock. So I just want to add to that.
Farhan, thanks very much for your input. And Don, and for people on the call, I don't know if you know Don or Farhan, but these are the two top shot clock operators in Ontario. One works for the Raptors, and Don is a FIBA, I think a FIBA table official, correct me if I'm wrong, with the shot clock. So these, we're getting advice from two, we're getting advice from two of the very best shot clock operators, and I thank them very much.
Dave, we've had some questions in regards to the videos and presentation. That information will be sent out via game plan as to where to find the videos and the presentations will be on game plan. That would be sent out either late this week or early next week in regards to that. So thank you for those questions.
Okay. And again, I'd like to thank everybody, Stacey and everybody on board. Mike Thomson, any closing comments? You're on mute. Still on mute, Mike Thomson.
Yeah, I know. Just trying to get back.
Okay.
All good. Thanks.
All good?
Dave, I'll let everybody go. I know that somebody has a question about foul shot coverage, so you can stick around and ask it afterwards.
Sure.
Thank you to you and Stacey for putting this together. It was a mountain of information, so thank you very much. Thank you all to all our FIBA officials for joining us, as well as all the OUA officials on our consistency panel. And more importantly, thank you to all officials for investing in the game and yourselves and your province by attending. We hope to put together a 2-person and also a 3-person advanced in the early fall in preparation for the upcoming season next year. In the meantime, have a wonderful summer. We hope you stay well. We hope that we see you sometime back on the court and
or at the Super
loving the
Clinic.
game, or at the Super Clinic.
Or at the Super
That was my last point.
Okay.
This weekend we have the Super Clinic. The CBOC AGM is on Thursday, as well as Saturday and Sunday we have the CBOC Super Clinic. Amazing possibilities and wonderful conversations both on the Saturday and Sunday. So please sign up if you need any information about that. Please feel free to email me and I can send you the link. Thanks, Dave.
Okay.
Hi, I was the one with the question on free throw coverage. We've had it happen, seen in several games, intense ball game. Two of the players that are outside the three go down to the far end of the court in anticipation of there being a long last second pass. Do you advise releasing the trail early to go referee those two and leave the free throw coverage then to the lead and see?
Mike Thomson, did you want to take that? Great question.
I guess if I'm on, am I live or am I on my mute? Can you guys?
No,
hear me?
you're live. You're live. Great question.
So the simple answer is yes.
Okay.
So, but you don't necessarily go to the other end of the floor. You just step back further and open up your view so that you've got it. So you've got a view of them, perhaps in your peripheral vision, so you know what they're up to.
Yeah. What I've typically done is gone back maybe almost to center, but have the wide open view, because in some of these intense situations, that's when somebody gives a cheap shot too.
Right. Right. Great question.
Okay.
So I can't tell you to be at center or somewhere else. I got to see where the players are.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
Yeah.
big, smalls, what they are, but certainly step away further off the court, open up your view, make sure that you can pick them up out of your peripheral.
All right. Okay. See you on the weekend. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll see you.
We've got one more question, Dave, when it comes to the rules around goaltending when a defensive player smacks the backboard, not attempting to block the offensive player layup.
Okay, so that's actually basket interference. And it's my understanding, Mike, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that if it, in the opinion of the official, of the referee, that the slapping of the backboard vibrates it, and you can call, so that the basket does not go in, you can call basket interference. Mike, did you want to elaborate on that? He's looking up the.
I'm capable of elaborating. I paused when the question was asked because I would say, quite honestly, this is an area that we in Canada are with, and we tend to err on the side of it does not cause the ball to not enter the basket. Where generally internationally you will find that they almost go the other way. I think we need to move the needle marginally. And we do have some circumstances across the country where a player making contact with the backboard, causing the ring or the backboard to vibrate, does result in a ball not going in the basket. And we need to start addressing that. I apologize if that's a bit of a wishy-washy answer without hitting exactly, because you have to see the plays. I think probably we need to move the needle one notch on a scale of 10. So 10% of the time when we're not calling it, we probably have to have a interference call.
Right. Because it does happen quite a bit here in Ontario. I know that for sure. So another great question.
Yeah, and all it is, I mean, if you take the pure words out of the rule, if a player causes the basket to vibrate or grasps the basket in such a way that, in the judgment of a referee, the ball has been prevented from entering the basket or has caused the ball to enter the basket. That would be if it's an offensive player. And the movement we need to make is not a dramatic change. It's just probably there might be 1 in 10 that we leave alone that we need to take a better look at and see if it has caused it to miss.
Right. I actually did have some, there are some clips on basket interference that are pretty good. So, okay, I think that's everything. Hey, Mike Thomson, I want to thank you very much for all your input on this. I really appreciate it. Helped us get through this. Georgia, Mike, and Stacey, you're a rock. Thanks very much.
Yeah.